When you hear the word elite, what do you picture? Maybe it's world-class athletes, high-ranking professionals, or those rare individuals at the very top of their game. But here's something to think about. What does it truly take to rise even higher, to become uncommon among the uncommon? In this chapter of Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins reveals what separates the good from the great, and the great from the unforgettable. Drawing from his time as a Navy SEAL, he shares jaw-dropping stories of perseverance and mindset, where even amongst the best, he chose to push harder and demand more from himself. This is not just about success. It's about redefining what success means by continuously raising your own standards. Imagine being the kind of person who stands out even among the exceptional. How do you build that kind of resolve? What sacrifices does it take? And most importantly, why does it matter? Stay tuned, because this chapter dives into the mindset, the grit, and the strategies you need to take your potential to a level you didn't even know existed. Let's uncover what it truly means to be uncommon amongst uncommon. Welcome to Book Summary, where you can unlock the power of books in minutes, not months. Get the key insights, chapter by chapter, and start learning smarter, not harder. Let's begin. In Chapter 9 of Can't Hurt Me, titled Uncommon Amongst Uncommon, David Goggins delves into the ultimate level of self-discipline, resilience, and mental fortitude that separates the truly extraordinary from the merely great. This chapter is not about being the best in a crowd of average performers. It's about standing out even when surrounded by the elite, the rare few who already embody excellence. Goggins draws heavily from his experiences as a Navy SEAL, an environment filled with some of the toughest and most resilient individuals on the planet. Yet, even in this high-pressure, high-performance atmosphere, he felt the drive to be something more. It wasn't about competition in the traditional sense. It was about creating his own benchmarks and refusing to settle for less. He describes moments of grueling physical training and operations where most would hit their breaking point, and how he consciously chose to push beyond what even the best considered their limits. One of the most vivid examples in the book comes from Hell Week, a notorious test of endurance in SEAL training. While many recruits simply aimed to survive, Goggins resolved not just to make it through but to thrive, outperforming his peers and redefining what was possible. What makes this chapter particularly compelling is its focus on the mindset required to consistently push beyond the boundaries of perceived excellence. Goggins explains how he trained himself to see pain, fatigue, and obstacles as opportunities to separate himself from the pack. When others slowed down, he sped up. When others rested, he worked harder. He recounts how this mentality was not about showing off or seeking validation, but about fulfilling a personal promise to himself to always strive for the best version of who he could be. This commitment to relentless self-improvement became his identity. One of the key takeaways from this chapter is the importance of redefining your standards, even when those around you consider you exceptional. Goggins argues that complacency is the enemy of greatness, and the moment you stop pushing, you begin to stagnate. To illustrate this, he shares a story about his ultra-endurance racing. After achieving what seemed like an insurmountable feat in one race, he didn't bask in the glory or take a break. Instead, he signed up for an even harder challenge, proving to himself that there were no limits to what he could accomplish. Another profound lesson from this chapter is the idea that mental toughness is a skill, not a trait. Goggins emphasizes that anyone can cultivate the ability to rise above their circumstances and excel beyond expectations. It requires a deliberate effort to embrace discomfort and a willingness to face fears and insecurities head-on. He talks about the cookie jar strategy he developed, a mental tool where he revisits past victories and moments of triumph whenever he faces self-doubt. This practice reinforces the belief that he is capable of overcoming any challenge, no matter how daunting it may seem. The chapter also explores the role of accountability and self-reflection in achieving this level of excellence. Goggins is brutally honest about his shortcomings and failures, but instead of being defeated by them, he uses them as fuel to push forward. He He challenges readers to adopt the same approach, confronting their weaknesses with courage and using them as stepping stones for growth. This honesty is what makes his message resonate so deeply. He isn't presenting himself as superhuman, but as someone who has learned how to harness his flaws and pain to create something extraordinary. Goggins also touches on the value of inspiring others through your actions. Being uncommon amongst uncommon isn't just about personal achievement. It's about setting an example that elevates those around you. He recalls moments where his relentless drive motivated his teammates to dig deeper and strive for more. This ripple effect, he explains, is one of the most rewarding aspects of living at this level of excellence. When you refuse to settle, you unknowingly give others permission to do the same. Ultimately, this chapter is a masterclass in what it means to truly excel. Not for the applause or accolades, but for the internal satisfaction of knowing you've given everything you have. Goggins challenges readers to reflect on their own lives and ask whether they are pushing as hard as they could be. Are they living up to their potential, or are they letting excuses and comfort hold them back? He reminds us that the journey to becoming uncommon amongst uncommon is not easy, but it's worth every ounce of effort. It's about taking ownership of your life and committing to the relentless pursuit of greatness, regardless of the obstacles in your way. The beauty of Goggins' philosophy lies in its universality. Whether you're an athlete, a professional, or simply someone striving to overcome personal challenges, the lessons in this chapter apply to every aspect of life. It's a wake-up call to stop settling for mediocrity and start demanding more from yourself. Goggins doesn't sugarcoat the journey. It's hard, it's painful, and it requires sacrifice. But he also makes it clear that the rewards far outweigh the costs. Chapter 9 is a reminder that greatness is not reserved for the few. It's available to anyone willing to put in the work. Goggins' story is proof that with the right mindset, relentless effort, and an unwavering commitment to growth, you can achieve more than you ever thought possible. This isn't just a chapter in a book. It's a call to action to redefine your limits and become the best version of yourself, no matter how uncommon the path may be. Thank you so much for being part of this incredible journey through Chapter 9 of Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I hope you've been inspired by the idea of becoming uncommon amongst uncommon and are ready to push beyond what you thought was possible. But trust me, the story doesn't end here. Up next is Chapter 10, The Empowerment of Failure, and it's a perspective-shifting masterpiece. Imagine failure not as the end, but as a stepping stone to greatness. This chapter will show you how Goggins transformed setbacks into fuel for growth and how you can do the same in your own life. It's a lesson in resilience, perseverance, and the true meaning of strength. So, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. You won't want to miss this one. If today's video brought you value, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs that extra push, and drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway. Let's keep breaking limits, one chapter at a time. I'll see you in the next video. Chapter 10 is a game changer you can't afford to miss.